Hello YouTube, Salivate Metal here, and I came across this website in a search that outlines the 7 biggest treasure troves ever found by Mental Floss UK. Sometimes these sites like this can get bogged down with ads and load really slow, but this one loaded relatively fast. But quite an interesting article indeed, outlining different treasure that has been found buried throughout history. And so this particular one talks about 7 different types of treasure troves that have been found, some of the biggest around. And it says that buried treasure is one of those things that sounds like it only exists in stories. But throughout history, valuable objects, coins, jewelry, crowns have often been either deliberately buried or just lost to the ages. Here are 7 of the most valuable and extensive treasure troves ever brought to light. And you will find a common theme in most of these, and that is precious metals. And of course, even outside of some of these, you've heard me do other videos on some more recent finds and the like. But let's kind of go through these things. The Schroeder Hoard, and you can see here, it looks like it's comprised mostly of silver. Very attractive, though, very interesting indeed. It was found in 1840, and it has a value of approximately $3.2 million. And the story behind it is that while repairing the embankment of the River Ribble in Schroeder near Preston in England, a group of workmen dug up a lead box. Inside was one of the biggest hoards of Viking treasure ever found. More than 8,600 items were documented, including silver coins, various bits of jewelry, and silver ingots. Although the majority of the items originated in the English Viking kingdoms, some of the treasure was also traced back to other regions, including Scandinavia, Italy, and Byzantium. So you can see how far that the Viking kingdoms have spread out, and how trade and how commerce had occurred between the different regions, and how far it had gone, spread throughout their reign of terror. Essentially, that's how they spread out and grew, was through essentially terrorism. They were some of the first terrorists out there, and they were religious extremists too, under their gods of war and the like. So very interesting indeed, but they valued gold and silver. And it's another example of how gold and silver have surpassed the ages and is seen in every single culture throughout history of any significance, that they were valued as such. The treasure was presented to Queen Victoria, and some of it is now displayed in the British Museum. As you saw in the picture above, the workmen who found it, meanwhile, managed to grab a coin each. So that's nice. At least they got away with a piece. And so it's interesting, because even back then, look, the 2 people found it, but the government confiscated it, but they got a coin each, so it wasn't that nice. Number 2, the Huxley Hoard. Look at that. It was found more recently in 1992, and it's approximately $3.8 million worth. Having lost his hammer in a field, farmer Peter Watling called a friend with a metal detector to help him find it. Instead, he found treasure. Inside the oak chest was a collection of silver spoons, gold jewelry, and coins, all dating back to the 4th or 5th century CE. Watling called in help, and archaeologists managed to find all sorts of other treasures buried in the same field, including Roman ladles, ladles, and serving bowls. The hoard was bought by the British Museum. Though it was so valuable, the museum had to call in funds from donors like the National Art Collections Fund to afford it. As for the errant hammer, that's now in the British Museum too. Wow, very interesting. Well, at least the government, the British Museum purchased it. I think above here it was, it was presented to Queen Victoria, but who knows? It's probably confiscated. But nonetheless, another thing: silver spoons, gold jewelry, and coins, and dating back to the 4th and 5th centuries. It just goes to show you Again, that common thread of gold and silver, valuable and intrinsic. The Staffordshire Hoard. Look at that, beautiful pieces. That was found in 2009, and it's worth approximately $4.1 million. Terry Herbert was using his metal detector on a recently plowed field near Hammerwich in Staffordshire when he stumbled across the largest trove of Anglo-Saxon treasure ever found. All told, the hoard included over 3,500 items, most of which were military related. As well as weaponry, though, the hoard included several religious artifacts and lots of decorative items. It's tough to be exact, but the hoard is thought to date back to the 8th century and has influenced the way historians think about the period in English history. Enough to make you rush out and buy a metal detector, isn't it? Very, very interesting indeed. Metal detector found 2 great treasures. There's another common thread used for all you metal detectorists out there. And as you can see, these are made of precious metals as well. Very interesting. Number 4, the Schroeder Treasure. Look at that. Wow. Beautiful. It was found between the dates of 1985 and 1988. And it's worth approximately $120 million. Wow. Back in 1985, an old building in the Polish town of Schroeder Treasure was being demolished ahead of the renovation works when a vase was found beneath the foundation. Inside were more than 3,000 silver coins dating back to the 14th century. A couple of years later, when another building nearby was knocked down, even more artifacts were uncovered, including lots more gold and silver coins and an array of jewelry, including a gold crown pictured above here and a ring bearing the head of a dragon. Wow. So all of you dragon enthusiasts, wouldn't that be cool? I wish they would have showed a picture of that. That'd be interesting to see. Although there's clearly a lot of treasure there, experts have struggled to put an exact value on it because nothing else quite like it really exists. Boy, that's fascinating. And that crown is very cool looking indeed. Very ornate. Lots of jewels on it. Gold. Number 5. The Caesarian Sunken Treasure. That was found very recently in 2015. The value, priceless. Scuba divers exploring the seabed near the harbor of Caesarea National Park, Israel, thought they'd stumbled across a child's toy when they found the first gold coin. But when they saw how many coins there were and looked more closely at the engraving on them, they realized they found something pretty significant. They'd reported their find to the Israeli Antiquities Authority and returned the metal detectors to search the area more thoroughly. In the end, nearly 2,000 coins were recovered. The coins were of several different denominations and had been minted at different times, sometime between the 10th and 12th centuries. You see a closer view of the coins in the image above there. Of course, you can't make these any larger, but look at that. That's amazing. So far, no one's attached an exact value in the find except to say that it's so valuable, it's essentially valuable, it's essentially priceless. Wow. Fascinating indeed. Now, look at this picture. Crazy. The Schroeder Treasure. I know I'm butchering the pronunciation of these words, but I don't care because look at how cool this is. A deer's head made of gold. Found in 19. This is number 6, by the way. This is found back in 1959, and its value is again priceless. Brothers Pavel Petko and Mikhail Deikov were digging for clay at a tile factory near Panegyrish, Bulgaria, when one of them stumbled across what he thought was a strange whistle. Further digging uncovered more objects, and when the brothers took their finds to the mayor's office, they found they were made of gold, and there was a lot more where they came from. If you ever see, there's a running theme here that I don't know if you can tell, but they're all being submitted to the authorities of some sort, government agencies, which means that they're going to confiscate it. Wow. To me, I would take them to a private individual first before just surrendering them to the government and have them being confiscated and work out a deal. Very interesting indeed. Actually, rather than being a whistle, the first thing they'd found turned out to be a ceremonial drinking horn dating back from the 4th century BCE. They were also golden decanters, a kind of a dish, and a vase, all of which were thought to have been used in religious rites. All in all, they found more than 13 pounds of solid gold carved with elaborate shapes and intricately decorated. Wow, look at that. Absolutely amazing. All that gold. So see, there you go. More evidence. This video is evidence of the long-standing history and the value of precious metals. And here's number 7. Look at that. That's amazing, this belt. And I first read that, I thought it was Bactrian, but it's Bactrian Gold, the Bactrian Gold. It was found in 1978. The treasure found in Tili Tepe, which has become known as Bactrian Gold, was discovered from 6 burial mounds. More than 20,000 gold ornaments were retrieved. The treasure was dated between the 1st century BCE and the 1st century CE, and came from the burial sites of a nomadic prince and 5 women, possibly his wives. I'll stop here saying, and you notice that this article from the UK mentions BCE and CE. That stands for before the Common Era and Common Era. And really it's a BC, before Christ and after Christ, but they want to remove Christ from everything. And so they use these secularized terms here, but that's what that means. What's particularly interesting about this hoard is that the treasures are so diverse, with objects from China, India, and Greece all mixed together. The jewelry is elaborate, set with precious stones of all colors. So very interesting that it has so much culture mixed together in these pieces. Since the treasure was uncovered in the late 70s, it's changed hands a number of times. So there you go. Here's our first one, I think, that the government didn't get their hands on right away, especially when Afghanistan was invaded in the National Museum where the collection was kept, so essentially it did make it into the government's hands, was looted in the Afghan-Russian War a few years later. It was since been recovered and displayed at museums all around the world. So there you have it. And these don't even account some of the other ones that we know about, like the SS Central America. We have the Viking Hoard found. We have these other pieces. I think there was that one set, the collection that was found in California a few years ago. That was a pretty popular one. I forget the name of it now, but there's been plenty of other treasures found, but these are quite astounding. I didn't know about any of these, so very interesting. And so I hope this you found this video entertaining. And if you did, and you subscribe to this channel, click on that little bell so that you receive notifications when there's a new Salivate Metal video published. And I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching, and encourage you to please rate, comment, and subscribe.